What's up everyone, Lion Roar here, and in today's video I'm going to do a full breakdown and analysis of the Galabar clan. But first, download Gemstone Legends, a mobile RPG puzzle match game. Use the link in the description to start with free stuff, including a bonus hero. Alright, so the Galibar clan is a tanky tree folk that looks like it has a lot of potential to be really good, both the male and the female. And of course, today's video is going to just be speculation because we're going to look at them on paper, but testing is going to be different. We know that these heroes have to actually perform in battle. So make sure you're subscribed for my summons video, and after I level them up, I'll make a video about how they perform in battle as well. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the male. As far as stats go, 23 million health, 231 attack, and 117 defense. I do want to emphasize that this is without vigor, but what I'm going to look at here is with the skills maxed, okay? Because this is coming through the Renowned Champion tab, so we're going to look at it this way. Those stats are fine. I think that you're going to want to focus on beefing these up a little bit, so perhaps I can talk about clan traits towards the end. But let's start with the ultimate skill, and then we're going to move through the passives. I like doing that because the ult is the main thing that the hero does, but the passives can be very powerful too, as we know with other champions. All right, so there's a lot of words here. I'm going to read it and then try to break it down a little bit. Aspect of the Sylvan Guardian. When casting this skill for the first time, the champion teleports to the ally with the lowest health percentage and transforms into their Sylvan Guardian form, dealing 420% damage to enemies nearby and knocking them back for a short distance, along with a 1-second taunt effect. To me, that feels kind of like they don't play together well, like he's pushing them back but then taunting them. It's fine. It's going to mess them up, and maybe that's the purpose. It just seems to counteract itself, but that's fine. When transforming into their Guardian form, the champion instantly gains 2 layers of roots and receives increased healing from their roots by 20% and an additional 7% damage reduction for each layer of roots, lasting for 8 seconds. So basically what this means is, you know, when he gets layers of roots, then he is going to basically be preventing damage from the opponents and increasing the healing and staying alive. So that just makes him very, very tough to defeat. Here's the thing with this special though. Do you notice how like he transforms and then he stays that way? So basically he's just going to become this wall of soaking up damage. I don't see a whole lot here where he's going to be doling the damage. So it's almost like, at least as far as the ultimate goes, this is one where he's going to try to attract the champions on the other side to be attacking him. And then you want your other champions to be the ones dealing the damage in essence. Okay, let's take a look at some of the passives here. By the way, in that ult, you notice how he just stays that way, right? Like that's important, I think, for when we take a look at these passives. Okay, when in Elven form, so that's when he starts, he deals damage equal to 400% of the champion's strength to the enemy with the highest strength and inflicts a weaken effect on their enemy, reducing their strength by 30% for 5 seconds. When in Guardian form, inflicts the entangled effects for 3 enemies with the highest strength for 2 seconds, dealing damage equal to 350% of the champion's strength during this period. So notice he's doing different things depending on whether he's an elf or he's a tree. Okay, and I feel like this one is pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the other passive. Oh my gosh, it's so much words. All right. Each normal attack heals their ally with the lowest health percentage for 80% of the champion's strength and reduces the damage taken by the ally by 20% for 5 seconds, stacks up to 2 layers. So of course that's going to be powerful. After casting their ultimate skill for the first time, the champion transforms permanently into the Sylvan Guardian form, in which the champion is immune to being removed and gains 1 layer of roots, after which another layer of roots is granted every 6 seconds. Okay. That's a lot of words, and I think it can be lost here in the wordage that first part that sounds extremely powerful, each normal attack heals their ally with the lowest health percentage for 80%, blah, 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 blah. That part, that only happens when he's an elf. It doesn't, I think, clearly say that. But notice that it says after casting their ultimate skill for the first time, the champion transforms permanently. So that first part is negated. At least in testing, some of the early tests are showing that healing doesn't happen anymore after he's transformed. All right, so please do take note of that. It is really interesting that he's immune from being removed, or from being moved, I should say. Like he's stuck there, and keeps gaining these layers of roots. Now, I think that this ability could be pretty good in something like Guardian Defense that goes on for a long time, or any of the events where, you know, you have a ticker going for like 2 minutes or something like that, where that can matter. But in regular arena battles, or Valley of Conquest and stuff like that, unfortunately, the battles don't go that long. So I don't think you're going to be able to take advantage of this second part of the skill, at least how it's worded here. Let's read the second part of this. Each layer heals the champion for 7% of the max health per second. When inflicted with a control effect, the champion consumes 1 layer of roots to gain immunity from the effect and reduce the cooldown of any active skills for 4 seconds. The root can stack up to 4 layers. All right, so you know, do note that he is just kind of like a big, stuck, tanky thing that's just soaking up damage and like immune to effects that are happening and stuff like that. Hopefully drawing the opposing champions away. I think that his specials are intriguing. I think you have to be careful about them because of how they're worded, noting that when he's in elven form, he's doing something different than whenever he's in his Sylvan Guardian form. All right, so when you're thinking of synergies and you're creating your teams, keep that in mind. Otherwise, you're going to be surprised and think he's not doing what he's supposed to. I do think the wording could be a little bit clearer, especially on this particular passive. But I hope that I was able to describe it well enough to at least give you a start with that. So what do I think about him? I think that he is a little bit of a mystery at the moment, actually. I think based on the wording, he has the chance to be pretty good as far as like a tank goes, like real tough, real hard to beat. And any champion I'm finding in Bloodline that gives healing to self or others, especially to one that has the lowest HP percentage, is extremely valuable in a lot of different scenarios. I mean, you know, think of Dungeon Descent and Guardian Defense again, and these things where you need to keep your champions alive for a long amount of time, from match to match to wave, and that kind of thing. So I think that he's going to be very, very useful for something like that. Because again, hopefully he's healing, hopefully he's soaking up damage. You know, I think we're going to have to do some testing to see if he remains in tree form basically for the entire Guardian Defense or what. But I think of both of the male and the female, he's going to require more of the testing to see how he actually is. Now, let's take a look at the female. Female Galabar has 23 million HP, 227,000 attack, and 113,000 defense. That's all okay. That's fine. Remember, that's going to go higher with Vigor. But let's take a look at the ultimates. So, Aspect of the Sylvan Avenger has a lot less text than the male. Takes the form of Sylvan Avenger for 8 seconds after casting. Now, that's a long time, especially in the arena battles or in Valley of Conquerors, that kind of thing. And even going through like Dungeon Descent, for example, where it's a lot of like individual little battles. And I'll tell you what, the timing on that is really nice too, because as you probably know, those matches only last 8 to 10 seconds. So this is really all you need. She's going to be doing this ult for pretty much the whole battle after she goes off. That depends on her going off, of course, unless she's stunned or something like that. Okay, so what does she do? Upon transformation, entangles all enemies for 3.5 seconds, dealing damage over time with total damage equal to 400% of the champion's strength. When entangled, enemies cannot move or attack. Gosh, I feel like this just has an essence of like Divala special in it. Of course, this is way different, but 3.5 seconds is like a million years in these like little individual battles. So, you know, having this effect up, having enemies be entangled for 3.5 seconds where they can't attack, which means they're not gaining mana and that kind of thing. And then dealing damage to them while they're in this mode is really powerful. I mean, at least it looks so on paper. Now, one thing that I think is important to point out in the early testing is that if a hero already is in progress of ulting, she's not going to stop the ult. Their ult is going to continue. But if they were attacking and their mana was building up, now they're going to be stuck. And so their mana is not going to build up and that kind of thing. So she has the potential to be a really good crowd control champion, at least based on this particular special. Now let's take a look at the passives. Parasitic Seed. plants parasitic seeds in an enemy in a cone ahead of her. The seed reduces the enemy's attack speed and deals damage equal to 350% of the champion's strength. In the meantime, self-heals equal to the damage dealt. When transformed into their Sylvan Avenger form, her parasitic seed spreads to all enemies nearby. I'm seeing a lot of text here I really, really like. Slowing the opponent down. Like, you know, the name of Bloodline is speed, right? If you are faster, if you get your ult off faster, you're probably going to win. Divala being the exception. Anytime there's a Divala, things kind of don't matter. Things will just happen as they happen, right? Like, she's just so powerful. But for everybody else, you tend to want your ults to go off faster. And actually, male Galabar is an exception to that as well. I'll talk about that when I talk about the traits. Yes, you want to be able to control the opponent. You want to slow them down. And self-healing is really important. Again, in those really long events and things where you're going for like 2 minutes or so, perhaps against like the raid bosses and such. So remember that. Vengeful Endurance. When taking damage, the champion gains a 4-second healing effect that heals for 360% of strength and gains damage reduction. Additionally, energy charge increases the amount by 4% healing. Damage reduction and energy charge can stack up to 5 layers, which is a good amount. I'll put it that way. When transformed into their Sylvan Avenger form, further increasing healing and damage reduction by 20%, stacking up to 10 layers. And wow, 10 layers. This passive buff also applies to all allies, granting them healing and damage reduction when they take damage. The amount is 100% of the champion's stats in basic form and may stack up to 2 layers. That's a lot of stacking. So this effect is going to get more and more powerful as you go on here. Again, in the longer types of events, that is going to be extremely powerful. In the individual battles, it's probably going to be a bit more muted, but she is doing everything that I want to see here. She's crowd controlling. She's reducing their attack, reducing their damage. She's healing a lot. I think my personal opinion is, I think we're going to find that she's the better one, at least on paper. Like, we're going to have to do the testing, right? I think the female's better than the male. But the male has a lot of potential too, and I think that they're going to be useful for different situations. Okay, now let's talk about traits, and we'll stay on the female for a moment since we're already here. But I want her to go off as fast as possible. So I'm going to go with my typical agile and focused as the top 2 traits that I want to put on her, because I really want to crowd control. I really want to stifle my opponent. So that will help her go off as fast as possible. From there, I absolutely want brutal, because she does a lot with strength as far as damage and then also healing. So that's going to be super useful. And then from here, it really depends on if you want to go all in on the damage, in which case you might want to use fierce, or if you want more longevity. Now, there is some debate in the community about what's better, honorable or energetic. And I could see both in the circumstance. Let me explain both and then why you might want to think about this. So honorable is typically better when shields are involved. So if you're going to have other champions that are putting shields out there, you probably want to go with honorable in this case. Energetic tends to be better whenever there's a lot of healing involved. And that's obviously the case for her. So, you know, my initial thought is I would want to go with energetic, since she is a tankier type of character. I want to keep her alive. And because she's healing, you want to have a whole lot of HP in there, increasing the percentages that she's gaining that HP back. However, I think either are fine. You can go with honorable, you can go with energetic, and it really depends on your team synergy. So look at what else you're doing. Like, do you have other champions that are going to give her or others a shield? Or are you going to just go for like a straight healing type of comp, in which case the energetic might be better. Now, things are different for the male. Do not put focused on the male. Maybe don't even put agile on the male. I'd still be more tempted to put agile on the male than anything, but I'm not thinking that those are the best ones for him. Again, because healing's involved, I might want to go with some kind of trait that's increasing a shield type of ability. There are a couple of champions where you can take advantage of that and put that on him. Otherwise, I would load him up with honorable, and energetic. He needs brutal as well. So, those are 3. So, I would say 1 clan trait that uses a shield type of mechanism. And then those 3, brutal, honorable, energetic. And then I think that's probably good for him. Now, the reason for that is because I don't think we really want his ult to go off super fast. I think it's a cool ult. I think it's really powerful, and it might ultimately end up winning the game. Again, we have to test it out. But you want to take full advantage of him in his elven form as long as you possibly can. So do think about that. I think that's going to be important. What do you think? So these are just my thoughts right now. My analysis is that both of these are really good. They both have potential. And I am definitely going to do summons for them. So again, make sure you're subscribed for that video, and then I'll also test them out. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are if you've already been doing testing. If you have clarification on any of the text or the rules or something that you want to update that I've said, or in addition to what I've said, I'd be glad to know. And if you enjoy videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.